Hey, all you witches, heathens, pagans, and magical souls. Thank you for being a listener of Back on the Broomstick. If you'd like to support this two-woman show in another way, check out the link in our show notes where you can become a one-time or monthly benefactor of Back on the Broomstick.
So if y'all could take a second and throw us a little love that way, help us towards our behind-the-scenes costs, check out the link. We appreciate it.
A huge shout out to all of our current benefactors. Thank you so much. Keep it witchy.
Welcome to Back on the Broomstick,
A modern witch's spoken word grimoire,
where two witchy friends from way back are reconnecting to their pagan roots after a long period of mundanity.
We're rewalking the path of the wise and trying out all the latest spells, rituals, and magical theory in today's witchcraft and pagan practices.
So grab your wand and your incense,
Your cauldron and your crystals,
and join us
as we get
Back on the Broomstick.
Hi, and welcome to Back on the Broomstick. Today, for our episode going into the spooky season, we are talking to a psychic medium who is also the co-founder of a ghost hunting society. We also happen to have a little bit of history with this lovely person.
Yes, we do.
Chelle and I are very excited to welcome Alonnie to the show. Hello, Alonnie.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
How are you? Happy boo season. My magical name is Alonnie Phoenix, and I am a psychic medium. That's been since I'm going to be 66 the end of the month. I've been doing it since I was age 5, so I've done it for a good minute. I am from upstate New York. I like to go chase things that go bump in the night. I love being a pagan, and I love being an out-of-the-closet witch.
You were one of the very first witches that I met when I first came to the pagan community that I kind of came up in, where I met Chelle. It was always wonderful to see you there because it was like just the energy around you was always so bright and so
Very
wonderful.
ethereal.
It's been very interesting to see you on Facebook with your business, your psychic mediumship growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very intrigued about the ghost hunting.
Because you've been to some pretty big places I've seen.
We've been to some places. Yeah. Don't believe all the hype. Don't believe all the hype. But some, and others are fabulous.
What is probably the most haunted place you've gone and investigated?
The Hinsdale House, Hinsdale, New York. It's also called the Dandy House. So it's outside of Buffalo. And you can book a tour. You can go and investigate there. Daniel has it as a place for people to go and learn and practice the art of paranormal exploration and paranormal research.
Oh, nice.
And it does not disappoint.
So it's good enough that you can go there as like your first investigation and learn how to do it. That's how active.
Well, you know how it is with any place that's active. One night it might be quiet as a church mouse, right? And then you get home and you listen to everything and you got, something. And other times you're like, holy crap. So on our Specters page, you'll see some of our evidence. And there's a couple of pictures from the Hinsdale House with a critter that I encountered that was, a lot of things don't bother me too much. I've been scratched and yelled at and, the whole thing. This thing, holy cow, scared me. And other people have taken pictures of it and had seen it. And so when you look up the Hinsdale House and go to the Hins House Restoration Project on YouTube and look at all the videos, yay team.
Wow.
So we like to, not only do we support the Hinsdale House, we are loyal fans. And if I can say anything about New York State, they've got some great places, and this is one of them.
New York is definitely really big on that. We, Chelle and I, our old podcast, The Stoned Witches Hour, focused on paranormal events and a lot of it, cryptids, everything.
Yeah.
There was a lot in New York State. And I know that the spiritualism really took off out of Rochester, New York.
Yes, out that way. Yep.
Fox Sisters and everything there.
Oh, what's the name of the house on Main Street?
All I can think of is Roberson. The Roberson House.
Oh, they don't let you play well there. But the Bundy Museum on Main Street. I'll tell you a real quick story. When I was a snot-nosed teenager hitchhiking along Main Street and hanging out with people on Main Street, the Bundy House, I would look up and I would see this little girl and she would be screaming.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so I'm going to be 66. This was age 15, 16. right? And so we went and did a couple recordings there, a couple investigations there. And on one of them, I caught her screaming.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And we got a lot of EVPs from that place and things that aren't just one word, you know? And so there's other groups that do a lot of investigations there. And I would encourage people, if you want to look for something in the area, check out the Bundy. And we like to support local.
I have a question. Is there a difference in going into this as I don't know how else to say it, a mundane person versus going into this as a witch, and as a pagan, as a psychic medium? Is the experience different? And if so, how?
Well, I'm a huge skeptic. Half the time I don't believe what I'm saying until someone says, "Holy crap, that's true," right?
Yeah.
And so my husband's a skeptic, right? And going in with that little bit of a scientific background or thought process, and not believing anything until you experience it, right? So as a pagan and as a medium, it felt normal for me my entire life. So to me, it's like walking into a theme park. Woo-hoo, we're gonna have fun, right? But we've had other people we've worked with that have gone in and go, I get nothing, I feel nothing, I know nothing, I feel nothing. Okay, are you enjoying the experience of looking? Yeah. Okay, then it's a win-win. Because being skeptical is a healthy thing. Being open is a positive thing and allows you, from my experience, if you're more open, you're going to experience more things, just like with anything in life.
Yeah, there has to be that balance.
Right. More you're going to willing to be say, okay, I'm going to experience this and see what's open to me. And you never know. We did one at the Bundy, and we had a friend that was one of our former teammates, big skeptic, huge skeptic. And he kept saying, I feel nothing. And we got back and we tore through the evidence, and the footsteps are walking right up to him. We're like, do you hear that? And he goes, well, yeah, but you don't always hear it at the time.
No.
So going into something with your eyes open is up to you whether you're going to experience it or not. Does that answer your question somewhat?
Would you still call yourself a skeptic?
I'm a huge skeptic.
Still?
I am.
After everything you've seen and heard.
Yes, because I don't know if I need to say I need to experience it myself, but sometimes you can look at somebody and just go, well, you're so full of caca.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
you're going, that does not ring true. That's not ringing true to me. So being a skeptic is an important piece of it, but I'm a firm believer as well, because I talk to dead people. I've been doing it for decades. So going into something like this, going into a place that is reportedly haunted or could possibly be haunted or might not, but there's the lore around it. You know, you never know till you get in there and you experience it. And just get in there and get your feet wet.
You know, going in as a skeptic does not mean that you don't believe. It means that you're going in making sure to, well, was that the wind? Was that the reflection of headlights going by? Is there a window open? Is the floor uneven? You know, it's making sure that you go through all that mundane checklist first.
For sure.
Because I think that's so important when you're doing, you know, especially when you're doing any type of psychic investigation like this. You really have to go through that.
And then you have the stone cold skeptics that say, you can't prove it's true. And I said, and you can't prove it isn't. You know, so.
You've mentioned that you've been doing this since you were very young, and that's something that we know about you, that you've had these experiences since you were a very small child.
Yeah.
Who was your first ghost, and how did you know that was a ghost?
Another story. So I'll give you this one. So when I was 5, I was in morning kindergarten. Back then it was morning or afternoon kindergarten, and you got graham crackers and milk, and you played with crayons, and you took a nap. That was kindergarten. Now it's what, trigonometry in kindergarten, something like that. And so our babysitter was across the street. And because I would see dead people, kids, and all these things, she kind of got a clue that I was doing this. And so every once in a while, she would take me and my brother to a seance run by Reverend May York, who was big in the spiritualist community in Broome County.
Oh, wow.
So they would trap me over there, and I'd be over in another room with all the other little kids that were there visiting with their parents that are in the seance. And they'd have someone watching me. And when I would start talking to the dead kids, they'd say, it's time. And they would trot me over into the room with the seance and the big round table and the people all there. And on more than one occasion, there was a lady who was about her. It was the weirdest thing. She had like a white pantsuit on, but behind her would be this little boy in a white. They had like the sailor pants, little short pants, and a little coat, and he was always holding a rose, and that was what he was buried in. And so I would say, well, he's behind you, and he's got his rose and mama and the whole thing, and the whole thing. And so I don't know how many times I did this with her, with other people. I don't remember how many times. And she always would say, don't tell your mother. Our secret. And so one of those days I said, and I saw the dead kid and I lost
no. Spilled the beans.
spilled the beans, and she couldn't be my babysitter anymore, which was very sad. So I would say that was he probably wasn't the first ghost I seen, but it's the memory that I hold most dear as far as my adventures in this started.
The ghost child brings up a question, a story of mine, and then a question. So the story is, there was a time when I read tarot professionally, and I was asked to go to an event. It turned out to be a memorial for a young girl who had passed away, and her family was putting on this big event with different vendors, and they were raising money. So I was doing readings and things were going well. And towards the end of the day, a woman came in and asked for a reading, but her cards were very jumbled. I wasn't getting anything good. And I told her so. Was like, I have nothing. I'm sorry. And I tried to give her her money back. And rather than do that, she gave me more money and said, do it again. So I did. And same thing, even more jumbled than before. She kept doing this. She did this 4 times until I was finally like, no, stop. I am not taking your money. You need to stop. I'm very sorry, but I've got nothing. And that's when she said she was the mother of the young child who had passed.
Okay.
And she was trying to contact her child. Now, this is not something I normally do, but it has happened in the past where spirits or souls have come to me during readings. I tried and got nothing. She was not there. And I tried as gently as I could to tell the woman this. What could I have done in that situation other than I felt horrible. I still feel horrible to this day.
And what you did was right, was the correct course of action. So there's a couple things that could be going on, depending on how old this child was when they left.
8 or 9, I think.
Okay. Their energy may not be coalesced yet. They may not be ready to come back and talk to anybody yet. And I always tell people, keep praying for your dead. They need that prayer to heal them so that they can heal you, and the cycle continues, right? And I also tell people, depending on the age of the child, if the baby doesn't come to fruition, if it leaves for a number of reasons, whether you helped it to leave or it needed to leave on its own, their thing is that karmically they have to go in and out real quick, because they're usually a guide or guardian for the mom and always for the siblings. Right. And so now you have someone that's had a little life behind them, and they may not have been ready to come back. They could have incarnated again already, doubtful, but probably wasn't ready to do that. And ethics is a big piece. And so we don't try to blow smoke up people's butt and say, oh, well, I see, and he's doing this and he says he loves you, because that is there's too many people out there that are that unethical.
I wanted to. I really wanted to.
Your heart is like, your heart's breaking. I want to do something, lady.
Yeah, I was heartbroken that I could not. I got nothing. There was nothing.
But you were
there.
honest, and that, to me, that's the bigger piece of it. You did the right course of action by saying, I'm not getting anything, and it's got nothing to do. I've talked to people standing beside the casket, and I get people from centuries back. But it's not up to us for when they're going to come and talk to us. They're not trained ponies.
Right.
And just because you talked to Grandpa 2 weeks ago with me doesn't mean he's going to come again in 3 months. It might be someone else who got the message. There's a lot of expectation that people in our profession that deal with this all the time will help people to understand a little more logistically how things are going to work.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side of that, do you ever find ghost hunting that spirits like reach out to you like you're a telephone operator desperately trying to make a connection?
All the time.
That opposite scenario?
All the time. I was doing a reading for a client last night, and I got to her house and I said, Jesus, you got this guy out in the yard and got this guy out in the yard. And what I tell them, I said, look, think of yourself as a dimmer switch. And we've turned our dimmer switch on. Our Grail sign is on, and they're just going to come. Oh, your light's on. I'm coming.
Right.
I got to talk. I want somebody to hear me. Here's what's going on. And then, as I tell people, part of my brain is talking to you and part of my brain is working with them. And so while I was talking to this lady last night and saying, okay, there's this man, as soon as my butt hit the chair, I looked up and she's wandering around her yard. And I said, well, what's going on? He goes, my chest is crushed. And I said, heart attack. Okay. You died from a heart attack. Yes. Why are you sticking around? I don't know where I am. I'm lost. Okay. So part of my brain says, I'm calling in your ancestors, your loved ones to come and collect you. Go with them when you hear them. And the other part is talking to her and telling her what I'm doing. And so when we have those experiences, I could be in CVS and something comes up. And I might go up to somebody and say, hey, by the way, here's my card. Here's what I'm hearing. Here's what I'm seeing. People today are a little funny about people walking up to them. So you got to
Yeah, you got to be careful with that
got to
now.
be really careful, really careful. But
No more Teresa Capuno moments, I don't think.
I get people, and I tell them, I don't want you to become addicted to a reader. It's not fair to you.
They
You
do.
got free will. You can't do this. Say twice a year is it's a lot for reading. But if you have a particular issue you want to focus on, we'll talk. But I'm not going to see you every week. Don't ask me that. Not going to happen.
It's funny. I used to have the same spiel. Twice a year is more than plenty.
It's more
You're
than
good.
plenty. You got a life to live.
That's right. Now, if someone wants to connect to a spirit, what would you suggest that they do? And conversely, if someone wants to hang up the telephone, what would you tell them to do?
I would talk to them about what they mean by spirit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because people confuse a ghost with a spirit, right? They're two different things.
Ooh, explain that a little bit.
In my opinion, something that's earth or stuck here or is not choosing to leave, they become attached to something. They might be haunting the place. They might be stuck there and choose to haunt it, right? Other things, like this gentleman, he didn't know he was dead. He didn't know where to go, right? So he's not necessarily haunting, but he's earthbound.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have people who have passed and they become their spirits, our ancestors, our loved ones, our animals. They could be guides, guardians, watchers, or just like hanging out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we can talk to them. You don't need a medium to talk to your loved ones.
Right.
Just talk to them. They're going to hear you. And maybe they'll come and talk to you. And that time period, right before we fall asleep and right before we wake up, our conscious, our subconscious plays well enough together that they can communicate with you.
It's a natural alpha state. It allows you to connect to those different planes a lot easier.
Much easier. And they don't always remember their name, right? Because it's not, I don't know my name, but I'll tell you that I used to make the best pierogies. And that's how I filter it. Dead people tell me a lot about food they like, and that helps me with them. And he's asking for this. This is what they did. And to me, talking to the different things, I will talk to an energy that's stuck as the same way I would talk to an energy that's in spirit. I think as a novice going in, what you don't want to say is, okay, everybody come and talk to me.
Right.
No, let's.
You don't want to open that wide.
Right. We don't want to let the whole clan in because, you don't know what's coming. So it's being a little careful, being mindful about that. Talk to your loved ones. Talk to your animal friends that have passed, and they're going to be there. Cats like to screw with the living, and dogs are the way dogs are. They're just like in death what they were in life, right? Cats like to screw with the living. You'll see half a tail, you'll see half a cat running around, that kind of thing. And so, if someone wants to say to me, how do I connect with them? Well, you can go to a medium. You can invite them to come and talk to you when you say your prayers at night or what you're grateful for. Come and give me a message. And it might be more symbols. I mean, dead people talk in symbols a lot. I always say men have this many symbols and women have this many symbols, right? And they might give you some messages, in that way. But I don't hear them all the time. Well, maybe you don't hear them, but maybe you smell them. Maybe you smell them. Maybe you get in the car and their song comes on.
Or maybe you feel them.
Right. So there's so many ways to experience this that there's no rule book on this, right? The one thing that does bother me about this community or this thing, people are more have a disposition to go to it's demons, right? I don't believe in demons myself. I don't believe in demons.
That's a TikTok problem.
Yeah. And I don't believe in hell, but it's good television.
That's true.
Now, it's not to say that there aren't things that are earthbound that are really, really negative, because there are, right? And I know I have some friends that are exorcists and they do things, and I'm like, I want to come and watch. I want to do, because I need to, am I seeing the same thing, but we're calling it by different words? Okay, I can do that. I can appreciate that, but
the paranormal community has a lot of gates to hell, and
they're everywhere.
Every
old hotel has one.
and it's not always that way, but that's the first place people jump to. And so that's what their expectations are going to be. Right. So the first thing they're going to hear or they're going to experience, oh, it's a demon. Right. No, it's grandpa. And he's just, gassy.
Cranky. Gassy. If you want to hang up on grandpa,
right.
What do you do?
So, usually when they're done with me, they'll say bye, or they'll say sleep, or they'll just fade away. And if they're talking to you, and you're done with them, because sometimes they'll just jabber, I love you, I will see you again. And then you just don't pay attention. Then you just hang up the phone. I'm done talking to you. Because I'll get people coming through and they're just like, and I said, there's other people in line. We got to talk to someone else now. There's another relative here. So can you hang out over here? And then I just kind of not talk to them.
Surprising how much saying goodbye in any particular way
is potent.
That's a good word, Chelle.
It's
Any way
potent.
you choose to say goodbye, as
Mhm.
long as you say it, that
Mhm.
can sever that connection.
It's just like a phone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
We're going to see you later.
We're
Now,
done.
the big piece of our kind of work is not only are we kind of acting as a counselor sometimes, so we need to be very well of someone who may have a truly diagnosed mental health issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And hearing voices or experiencing things that are part of the mind as
Mhm.
opposed to something different. Now, sometimes I see things visually, sometimes they're in my mind's eye, sometimes they're yelling in my ear, they like to scratch in my ear. So there's a lot of ways I can communicate with them, but I also ask questions. And if you get that answer that it leads you to think, I think you should be talking to a therapist or a professional, to be honest about that, because those are the folks that are going to be that psychic vampire because they want answers and they don't understand what they're hearing.
I've heard that mental health counseling is actually a very good defense, not just if you have mental health issues, but also if you are having problems with negative energies. Getting your brain, getting your mental health in order can be a very healthy way and good way to deal with negative energy or mental health issues, both of them.
And there's a lot of, professional practitioners out there that are very esoterically inclined.
Yeah.
Which is helpful,
Getting your brain house in order can be very helpful.
Right.
Now, for those new witches out there that are kind of solitary, out in the middle of nowhere, have no community, how can you tell if it is you are going crazy or you are actually hearing spirit or hearing ghosts or whatever you want to say, as opposed to, I need to go see a mental health counselor? Like, if you don't have anybody to bounce that off, how do you know if you're going nuts or if you're actually having conversation with spirit? You know what I'm saying?
One of the things you could do is put on a tape recorder and then tear it apart and see if you hear voices, see if you hear other things that are going on. And it really does help to have someone that you could bounce it off of, because there are times I'm going, did I hear that? Was that real? Right. And I got people around me, that can help tear apart the information and stuff. If you got someone that's out there so far that they're that isolated, that's a scary thing because your brain's going to do the I need people and it might invent people. And you might be out somewhere in the middle of nothing in a house that's very active. And so getting someone in there as a third party or as another observer to come in and talk to you and listen to you is important.
So what you're really looking for is outside confirmation.
Yes.
And with the rise in popularity of paranormal investigation, there's paranormal groups everywhere. If you look in your local Reddit or Facebook, you're going to find a paranormal group that you can ask to come kind of double check your work. Just be sure to pick an investigative group that has a lot of references and really good credentials.
Yes, credentials and references, that kind of thing, absolutely. And for all the little young witchlets and stuff that are looking into this stuff and doing things, you remember Miss Gail? You remember Miss Gail?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she and I worked at a bookstore together, and the little witchlets would come in, right? And they automatically write to the spells, and I want to do this and this. And I'm like, honey, you're running before you can walk, and it's the same thing with the paranormal world. Let's not jump into something that is way beyond your capability before you even start to understand what you're doing. If you can't put it away, don't bring it out.
Oh, I like that.
And
That's a
so
good
having
one.
that conversation is good because there's a lot of, especially the youngs. Oh my God, I did the same thing in high school.
We all played with the Ouija board when we shouldn't have.
I still play with the Ouija board. Look at my name behind my thing. It's a Ouija board, right?
We made our own to use in Salem.
That's fabulous. I tell people I'm a human Ouija board. They're like, oh my God. I said, honey, it's just words on a board, right? You're the conduit.
Yes.
Right.
But let's teach you how to be a good conduit before you can start pulling stuff out of your hat. Oh, where should go?
Speaking of technology, the technology aspect of this, do you really have to have the equipment to ghost hunt? Like, is that necessary? You see these, what are they, EVP recorders and
there's
heat sensor things?
There's two schools of thought with that. Like, I don't need them, but I'll carry around the tape recorder because then it'll pick up the things that they're talking about, right? Some of the things are very helpful to have, and some things are just props kind of thing. At one time, the apps you could get on your phone were crappy-oli, and they refined some of them. So some of them are better. So if we're doing a session, EVP session, and let's say during the course of 4 or 5 hours, we get 50 things, right? 50 words that are said. Maybe 10% of that is appropriate and will make sense. So do you have to have that stuff? No. But if you want to prove something to somebody, yes.
Then yes.
Because you could say, I see this, and they're going to say, okay, but I didn't see it. So what can you back it up with?
Like that
But I
time,
can-
Chelle,
I can
you saw the
understand that.
heat figure.
Yeah.
You saw that figure and then they caught it on the heat camera.
See that now that double thing there where you're getting verification is in this day and age is very helpful. So
But it verified me to other people, but it also verified me to myself.
yes,
That's where you get the I am not batshit crazy.
it's an important piece because I'm very skeptical myself to say, did I just say that or did I see that? And we have a friend that's an intuitive artist, and so she's gone on some things with us. And not only has she drawn what I've described, she's also been in a room and drew something that I didn't tell her, and that was accurate. So there's a lot of ways that this can be done. And I think that science and skepticism and a mediumship kind of thing can marry well if you have people that are going to marry it well, right? You have some people saying, well, mediums and psychics are just fakes and we don't need one of those because we have our toys. Okay, fine. But can I tell you what's behind you? So it's not a bad, it's a good, it's just the way, the nature of the things. And today with television, you can't, you can't shake a dead cat to hit a psychic, medium, in a paranormal show. Right?
That's true. That's true.
And so, I have a thing where say I'm throwing a cat at the television because I'm like, this is making me so angry. This is crazy. This is crap. I'm throwing the cat at the television. That's it. I'm done. What are you doing? But there are other places I've been that have a little more hype than they necessarily need or have earned.
Kind of touristy places, maybe.
Some of the touristy places, some that have had movies made after them.
Ooh, are you gonna name
some
drop?
that have earned their stripes and some that have earned some of their stripes and others are manufactured stripes.
Is there any place that's quote unquote too much that you just wouldn't go to?
I don't know.
Oversaturated with activity, so to say.
Or a place that has scared you?
Well, I have some stories on that. So the elemental at the Hinsdale house, that scared me. All right, good thing the anvil was sitting in front of me because I was like leaning behind and the thing is looking at me and it's got these claws and it's going like,
oh wow,
it's fabulous. But I'll go back there in a heartbeat. Scared me, but I'd go back. You want another story? A scary story?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking 1981 into 1982. And the husband at the time, I was married 14 years before I even told him I was a witch. He knew I was, she has ESP. Okay. So we went to this, I'm not going to say where it is, to look at to rent. And it was out in the middle of God's green acre. And we walk up on the porch and there's like, like the doors have the little glass next to the doors.
Yeah.
So I look in the glass and I see a lady in a black Civil War era dress. She's got a shotgun in her hand. On the stairs at the bottom is the husband. In seconds, she told me she was crazy. He was part of the Civil War. She thought he was cheating on her. She shot him, took him out and hung him in the apple tree that was out in the backyard.
Oh, wow.
Backyard. And she's looking at me. She goes, don't come in here. I don't like you. Don't come in here. So, of course, we rented the place. And she terrified me. The bathroom was downstairs. Our bedroom was upstairs, right? And it had the cluster flies in one of the rooms. And my husband's saying, we're going to make that the nursery. Over my dead body, we're making that the nursery, right? And so she would stand at the end of the bed and just scare the bejesus out of me. And when I would try and go down to the bathroom, she would follow me and scare me. So that I put a bucket in the bedroom. I was like, I'm not going down there anymore. So eventually in January of that year, my first son was born. And he was maybe just a few months old. And there was like a kind of a kitchen place and the dining room. And I could see him from the kitchen into the dining room. And I was, first time mom, what do? You boiled everything. Oh no, everything's getting boiled. Everything's getting boiled. Third kid, here, just take this, okay?
Pick it up off the floor.
I hear him squeal. I look out and she's pinching him. And she's looking at me and she's pinching him and pinching him. And oh my God, I got goosebumps right now. I ran out and pulled him out of the little rocky thing that he was in. And he had all these little red welts all over him.
Oh no.
I got to leave here. We got to leave here. Because he didn't believe me when I would tell him these things. But the neighbor who lived next door had us go over one time. And she says, do you know about the history of that house? And I said, I'll tell you the history of that house.
The neighbors always know the dirt, man.
She did. And I said, the man, and she hung him out in the apple tree. She goes, yeah, that's true. How did you know? And I swear to you, on all my kids' lives, we're talking about that, and lightning hits that apple tree.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So that house, it's on the historical preservation kind of thing because, back in the days, they would use newspaper to use as insulation.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the Gettysburg Address and all those things that were there. And so the walls were covered with, new walls and stuff, but all that was still there.
Oh, wow.
And it was a way station that was used by the Civil War.
Wow. So much history and so much haunting.
So much haunting. She scared me. Because I did everything I knew in my toolbox. You got to go. Let's help you go. The whole thing. Nope. This is my house.
That was her house.
You were the one who had to go.
I had to go and I had no problem with going.
She's probably still there.
She is probably still there.
Now, when you go in to do an investigation, I know from TV and from stuff like that there's different tests that people will do. There's different things that you might set up.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing to do to check for a ghost or a haunting or spirit?
We learned this the hard way. So we were going up to a lady's house and she had told me, no, it's my grandmother's going to be there. My grandmother's going to be there. So she didn't say the grandmother was dead. We thought the grandmother was alive. We go in the front door and to the left of us, we hear, hello. And Evel and I are looking around for the lady. And the owner of the house comes over and I said, where's grandma? She just said hello to us. Oh, she's dead. Oh, so we learned right away before we even get out of the car. And this has happened at a few houses. As soon as we open the door of the car, we get stuff right away. So tests, there's all kinds of funny little tests. Get your recorder going. I mean, we've done the baby powder test. We've done that. We've done
the baby powder test.
Well, people say, well, there's always somebody walking through the hallway. Okay, well, we'll put some baby powder down. We've done put a ball down, draw circles around it, see if it moves. We've done that. We've done the flashlight thing. I don't think we've ever had much success with the flashlight thing so much.
Now, the flashlight thing, is that where you like lightly unscrew the light so it's just barely on? Yeah. And then you ask yes or no questions and have the light go on and off?
Yeah. And there's a part of me that's going,
maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe they're
manipulating it somehow, that kind of thing. There are a lot of things that people do. And I guess it's really personal preference on what kind of a test you want to do. Because if nothing happens, are you going to, as some of the shows do, they fix it in post and then something happens. Oh,
I've heard that.
And otherwise you say, no, we didn't get it.
Yeah, but like you said, maybe like today could be an inactive day, but tomorrow could be active like a dinner party.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You would say clairaudience is more one of your big things, is listening for them?
I think it's going to help the scientific part because you're going to get something on there, right? And the psychic part is going to help because then you can direct traffic. Oh, over here. If you go to our YouTube page, there's a family I used to go to with our team. We had several years. We would go every year. And I still read for her now. And her son had passed from an illness. And we were talking to him. And he says some words to us. And I'm not going to tell you what they are. I'm going to let you go and find out. And her confirmation was that was the only thing he could eat.
Oh,
wow. So when you get that to me, that verification is better than a test because that's honest verification right there.
Right.
And it allows the family to go, we've connected. That's what they said. And that's, sounded like him and et cetera, and doing a test that maybe you'll get things. But do you have a favorite test that you like to do?
No, but you kind of intrigued me with the EVP thing because I had an interesting EVP, my first ever, I think, when I went to the Whaley House in San Francisco.
I'd like to go there.
Oh, it was wonderful. I loved it. Chelle and I were going to be I was going to be talking about it on our podcast. And since it was just an hour or so away from where I lived at the time, I figured I would go check it out.
Ooh.
And oh, it was wonderful. I had such a great time. And I walked around and took lots of pictures, and I saw zero ghosts. I may have been tapped on the shoulder by a
Okay.
ghost, possibly, but I was a little disappointed. There weren't really too many vibes, couple little things maybe. But Shell and I were talking, we were doing the episode, and I was telling the story about how the Whaley House was built on the hanging grounds where they
Yes.
used to.
Yes. The judge and the
And
whole bit. Yeah.
yes. And so Yankee Jim, I think his name was, very tall gentleman, was hung there. And because he was much taller than the average man, his toes touched the
Touch the
ground.
ground.
And it took
Mhm.
a very long time. And it's his ghost that a lot of people see. So I'm telling this story to Shell, and I said the historians don't know for sure if it was a tree that they used for the hanging or if they built a scaffolding to do it.
Mhm.
And so we talk about this and we finish the story. And so later I'm editing the episode. And when I get to that spot, after I say, and they're not sure which one they used. And so there's just speculation at this point. There's a little dead air before Shell starts talking, and there's a little tiny squiggle of sound. I'm like, well, that's weird. So I blow it up, and it's a man's voice, and he says, scaffolding.
Scaffolding. Yeah.
That's fabulous. I love that.
I have it. I will send it to
love
you.
that. Oh, that's so fabulous.
That's the only time I've ever caught an EVP or anything like that. And it's very clearly someone saying scaffolding. And I just thought that was the coolest thing.
See, now I see them. I actually see
Yeah.
things more so than here. And, when I was younger, 18 or so, 19, 20, my grandfather used to always come, but he'd stand in my doorway. We were all just getting into the witch thing and the pagan community. And I was like, this is kind of interesting, but people are going to think I'm just saying this. Layla comes over one day to my apartment and she's like, there is a man standing in your doorway and he is tall and he looks like this and he's dressed like that. I pull out a picture and I'm like, is this the man you see? And she's like, yeah, that's him. And I'm like, oh my God, that's my grandfather. But what he would do is I would go to bed at night and like, how sometimes you like kind of fluff the covers over you and let them kind of like settle down on you?
Yeah.
It would be like he would lay on top of me and my blankets would like almost like suction to my skin and
Okay.
I would feel a weight on me. And then it'd get to a point where I knew it was him and I knew that it was, and I would just be like, look, you need to get off me because I need to go to bed. And it was like
Boundaries.
the
Yeah.
weight lifted and he'd stand in the doorway. But Layla has seen him. My ex-husband has seen him. Like several people had seen him. But in the beginning, I thought that it was just almost me desperate to see my grandpa
Yeah.
until other people acknowledged it. And I'd show them a picture and they'd be like, that's exactly who I see.
I love that. I love that a lot. The interesting thing about EVPs, there's a couple things with that. One is, you're going to have so many hours that you're going to go do an investigation, whether it's an hour or 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It could take you 2 to 3 hours to go through an hour. It's very tedious. It's very
I
time
know.
consuming. And you want to have someone else listen to it too, because our brain does trying to make sense of all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's saying he wants a tuna sandwich. I think he says he wants to go to the tuna hut. I want to go and play golf, so you want to do that kind of stuff. The other thing with me, a friend of mine that we've done investigations together. And whenever he's going through the stuff, he says, I always have a bunch of dead people with me all the time. I have my own little bunch of people dead all the time. So we never know what they're saying, talking to me all the time and what you're getting. And so I've done other podcasts and had people contact me and say, we're hearing voices. So you might hear something in this. You might.
I
get
wouldn't
something.
be surprised. Would
Oh
not
my
be
golly.
surprised at all.
It's wonderful. And the nice thing about seeing something like what you did, Chelle, is it gives you some relief. Right. And
Validation.
We need to have boundaries. Like
Mm-hmm.
my bedroom's off limits. A lot of times they come and talk to me in the bathroom, in my car. And so my bedroom's my bedroom. It's off limits. So if something does come in my bedroom, I know it's serious enough that I need to know I'm going to see a client in the next few days, that it's going to be something serious because they don't cross that boundary. And so I tell everybody, you got to have boundaries. You don't want to be a big old sponge and you're the living. They're not. You got to say, here's my line in the sand.
And at the time, to be kind of honest with you, it kind of creeped me out that my grandpa was in my bedroom while I was like changing my clothes and I was just like, there's a threshold and you need to
Yeah.
stay there. And this is, but there's also, like you said, that quote unquote emergency situation where that spirit has to go through that threshold to be like, hey,
Yes.
this is urgent.
Yes. Yes. It's true. And for us as the living, one of the things I tell anybody, investigators or clients that I see, the biggest thing with all this is because you're using energy and there's their energy and your energy and the whole thing, that you got to ground this stuff out. And if you don't want a psychic hangover. It's like the flu and a hangover on steroids, right?
What's your advice on that?
Everybody, I say, when you're done, you're going to hydrate the crap out of yourself, not with alcohol. You're going to hydrate the crap out of yourself with some kind of liquid, and you're going to eat something that's going to put you on your butt. I want you drooling in the corner because you want to get rid of this stuff. And I tell clients all the time when I'm doing readings, I'm not going to remember you. The propensity for me to remember what I said to you, it's not my message. I'm not going to remember it for you. And so I've got clients that I've had for decades, and some I look at and go, oh, it's our first time. No, you've been seeing me for years. Oh, okay. And sometimes they'll come in, sit down, and everything will come right back. Oh, okay. Blah, 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 blah. I say that's how I protect myself. And I think as people like ourselves that are magically inclined, we need to have that boundary barrier set up so that we can take care of ourselves so that we can help others.
I'm so glad that you mentioned grounding. Grounding at the end of any kind of working, whether it's spell work or ritual or working with spirits or ghost hunting, doing some type of cleansing and grounding can be so important. And sometimes it's as easy as having something to eat, hydrating. We talked about that before as cakes and ale at the end of doing spell work
Absolutely.
or rituals. Is there anything else that you would recommend to help people?
Some people like stones, and look, I am old school. Any stone can be programmed to do anything you want it to do, right? Because it's not
Preach.
like, people, you got to have it in a silk scarf and it can only be, stop. Okay. Take your cards, play with them, let other people play with them. Those are your stones. You can do whatever you want. And if this helps you to feel like you're grounded, stick it in your pocket, put it under your pillow. It's a psychological thing as well as a magical thing. Right. And so some prayer work is helpful. One thing I do when I do a house party or I'm doing a fair or I go to a haunted house, when I get ready to leave, on the rug, my feet. You stay here. You don't come with me.
Nice. Make a little static charge almost. I love
Right.
that.
Yeah, because you want to establish
Yeah, sever that tie.
Absolutely. And when I get in the car, we do another blessing. Okay, you can't come in the car with me, because they like to come in the car with you. Dead folks like to travel in the cars with me. Some people like to have their loved ones in their car with them. Fine. Let them in your car, But if I'm at a location, I don't want that coming home with me.
Right. Boundaries. Boundaries are important in real world and magical world.
I've actually pretended like I'm using scissors, cutting a cord and kind of severed that, like visually severed that tie like I was cutting with scissors. Because that's important to kind of, you stay here, I'm leaving now.
That mind-body connection is so important. So that symbology of the scissors, fabulous.
You can use, I know some people like to use smoke or incense to separate. You can use black salt, music. I love music. There's nothing like playing a song you love really high and singing.
A little
movement
and dancing is always good. Laughing is a very good way to move the energy around.
Let's not forget what you said. And one of Chelle's favorite ways to get rid of spirits is just to tell them to get the fuck out. Here's the boundary. I'm saying get out. We're done. That's very powerful. You put meaning behind that. That can be extremely powerful.
One thing that I've dealt with on a few occasions, when someone is being affected, that almost acts like a drug. And they're like, I want this gone, but I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to experience it. And I'm like, but we've chased them away. If you start calling them back, that's on you.
Right.
Right. You can't be on one page saying, this is scaring the hell out of my family, but I like the high it gives me.
Right.
And because then what do you want?
Can't have your cake and eat it too.
Exactly. That you're doing your own self-fulfilling prophecy right there.
Yeah, you're saying go away, go away, go away. Come here, come here, come here.
Yeah, it's not fair. And little people are so open until they get deprogrammed, So I what I tell parents all the time is, if you say the kid is saying to you, I see this over here in the corner, and you say to that little person, well, can you put a clown's nose on them? Can you put a wig on there? Can you change their clothes? Oh, yeah, it's imaginary. If they're going, she's always in the closet, this is what she's wearing, this is always what she's saying, this is right, then we've got some validation. We can start to address it and look at those things. Even though paranormal is a lot more mainstream than it has been, kids suck and they're mean.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
And so I got grounded a lot as a kid because I thought all kids talk to dead people, and you're not supposed to tell people that their grandparents are standing by them, right?
Mhm.
So, in this day and age, the wanting to join the bandwagon is big. So I say to people, when I say, I think he's a grandparent that's come back, or he's someone else that's been reincarnated, that's what they're telling me, right? Well, you don't want to say, hey, you're your grandfather. You're going to want to watch and see if he does anything that is indicative of what that person did. Or if they say to you, I have memories of this, this, and this. You don't want to feed anybody anything. It's like when you're doing an investigation, you try not to feed, oh, I heard a noise, so that's what it is. Or
Right.
Bob, is that Bob? It's Bob, right? Well, we don't know if it's Bob. We don't know if there is a Bob, right? So part of it is television and part of it's psychologically trying to hook you in, right? So you want to be careful. You want to be careful when you're doing this stuff that you try not to feed more than it is.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot because you don't want to feed into an imagination.
Mhm.
Right.
You're looking to see what's true. Like with Chelle, she didn't show me a picture. She asked me what I saw and what this person looked like. And so I gave her that information, and then she's like, okay, and then whipped out the picture and showed me,
I love that.
not the other way around.
When you know somebody's that there's verified that either they died, you have a body, right?
Right.
You know that's dead there. If they give you some kind of acknowledgement, that's good and that's wonderful, right? But you don't want to go right out of the gate and go, okay, so that's Bob, and Bob, what are you trying to tell us? Are you trying to tell us your demon? What's going?
Don't be presumptive.
Oh, good way to say it.
Don't presume that it's going to be what you think or expect it to be.
Yeah.
I guess that goes back to being a skeptic. Like we were talking about at the beginning, you have to have a healthy skepticism and a healthy mindset, I think, going into this, because if you get overexcited about, hey, I'm doing an investigation, I'm seeing ghosts, you can taint what you're looking for, and get results that aren't going to be as satisfying, I think.
One of the things that makes me a little crazy, we're going to do an investigation. We're going to go there. And we heard a noise and we run. Wait, you asked him to make a noise. They made a noise. Why are you running away? No, it's making no sense to me. Wait, you're here to do a job and you're trying to figure this out. And oh my goodness, they made a noise and we got to run away.
It's all fun and games until you fuck around and find out.
Well, that's it. You're right.
Yeah.
And people by nature, we like to be scared. We like to have that adrenaline rush more than anything else.
There's a thrill to it.
There's a huge thrill to it.
Until it really happens.
Right. Right. And then there's a time and a place when you're going to want to run, right? But get to that place, get there and enjoy the experience. Yes, you can get scared by some of these things. I don't like to work in the dark. A couple reasons. One, I see things during the day. I don't need to have it dark. Two, I'm clumsy and I fall down. I don't want to be running around in the dark looking for something that's darker than dark. That always makes me crazy.
Have you ever been scared enough that you wanted to run from an investigation?
I don't think so. The thing at the Hinsdale house unnerved me. And he says, you want to stay tonight? I said, no, I'm good. Because you can stay overnight. And I said, I'm good. Right. It didn't scare me off. It just, whoa. Okay. I don't think I've had anything that I've run from where I've said the one place I was talking about with the child that died, something started growling at one of my co-team people there. And I charged after that thing. You ain't going to be doing that in this house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, you're not. You don't know. Right.
I think on one of your bios, it says you're like the mama of the group. It sounds like you're the mama bear.
Oh, man. Well, pterodactyl's my power animal for a reason.
Oh, I love that.
They don't call me Medusa for nothing. So nothing yet. I would like to get to that place. I would really like to get to that place where I've experienced something that is so outrageous that it scares the hell out of me. I want that because I want that validation and I want to be able to see what that is so I can pick it apart to see, okay, how do I do it? That's why I want to go with, some of these, go on an exorcism or go and participate in exorcism. I get a little crazy when people in the paranormal community say there is only one way.
Mm.
Yeah.
No. I can make holy water just like you can, right? And this faith has a way of dealing with negative things just like you do. So no, you don't have the all-encompassing only way. To me, that's elitist and power over.
Gatekeeper.
And we know where that all comes from, power over.
Mhm.
And we
That's
know what
right.
happens with that. I'm looking at my husband going, is there a place I run out of? He's trying to think.
Uh,
I don't
There
think
was
so.
something at the park view, not that scared you to run away from them, but had you pretty riled up.
Oh, sure.
I don't remember what that was. You
So
guys were chasing it
at,
all the way out.
at the park view, which is down in Owego, before they redid it and made the rooms hotel rooms, you could investigate there. And we got some wild stuff there. And I seen things there that would, woohoo.
Makes me want to stay there.
Oh my God. I just want to stay there now because it's not like they're going anywhere.
Right.
There used to be a bathroom upstairs, and I went in and I saw the woman giving herself an abortion.
That's heavy. That's heavy.
And then the owner came up and said, and up here in this bathroom, there were women would do self-abortions. I said, yeah, I know. I can see it, So I don't need the dark. And I don't want to play around in the dark because I'm clumsy and I fall down. And I know it makes great television. And then I know people say, well, spirits are more active when it's dark. They don't fucking care. And they don't know if it's light or dark. Time is different for them than us. So, see, I get on my high horse.
Now, do you have any places upcoming that you're going to be investigating?
We've got some private homes that we're going to be doing. I can't really tell you much about them, but we've got 3 homes that we're supposed to be going to. And one place I'm trying to get back into that we've already discussed in this program, wink, wink. I'm going to approach them. It's been 42 years since I've been to that location. So
Oh, wow.
Let's see what they'll do. If they'll let me.
Now, people can hire you to come investigate their private home.
I don't charge for that. Now, there are some people out there that do charge for those things. We don't charge for that. If they want to give us a donation for gas money, give me $10 for gas. Fine. When I go out to cleanse a house, or if I go out to do a blessing, or if I just come out to take a look-see to see if we want to do a full-blown investigation, I can't ethically charge for that. I don't feel that that's right. That's part of my clergy services, how I look at it.
Nice.
One last question.
Mhm.
As a psychic medium, what are your favorite or what are your most used divination tools? Like, do you do tarot, or what's your favorite way to do divination?
So sometimes when you're getting ready to do a reading with somebody and you're looking at them, right? And you're looking through them and you're getting all this stuff and people get a little nervous. Oh, what the hell, right? So I'll throw some cards down, some tarot cards down, because that'll keep them occupied, right? Keep them a little occupied. And we might look at some past, present, future stuff in the cards. Because then it's a conversation and the door just opens and their people come in. And by then they're comfortable and I can bring their people in. So that's fine. For my own divination, I use runes and I use animal cards. I like to use dowsing rods. I like a pendulum. Those are nice ways to communicate with things. And they're good yes and no answers, especially the dowsing rods with people. And they don't even have to tell me the question. They just have to tell me when they're done. I don't have to know the thing. I don't particularly want to know somebody's last name. I don't want them to say, well, you Googled me. No,
Right.
I don't want to know your last name.
The less information up front, the better.
The better.
Mhm.
We're not 100%. And I could tell you something and it's going to happen 5 years from now. And I get people all the time calling me, said, oh, you told me this. I didn't believe him. And oh my God.
And then it happened.
Right. And so everybody's got their own little particular bent. Some people might want to do some sage first or some Palo Santo. They might want to do some prayer. Have at it. Whatever works for you, works for you. Who cares how you get to the source, as long as you get to the source.
Now, Alonnie, I haven't been able to catch up with you in a little bit, and I have to make a confession. I just got my, I think, 293rd tarot deck.
You sound like my husband.
I have addiction issues, serious addiction issues.
He also has addiction issues.
Yeah. It is funny. We're doing an event at the Sci-Fi Horror Fest up at the what's the name of that casino? Burning Downs in August. And we love it. We love going there, right? And so this year he's selling a lot of tarot decks. He's been bringing them in by the dozen. And I've got a lot of them too. But here's the interesting thing. Some decks talk more than others. We all know that, right?
Absolutely.
So I was using one deck for decades, right? And I'd have other decks, but it was predominantly. And then my husband pulled out a deck and I went, oh my God, that's talking to me. Give it to me. And it was the first deck he ever used, almost 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm using that to this day.
Do you mind sharing what deck it is?
No,
I have to know.
It's the Sacred Rose deck.
Oh, okay.
And some decks are more chatty than others, and some have beautiful artwork. And so 93 decks, I can appreciate that.
No, 293.
That's fabulous.
No, I have an issue, Alonnie. It's 293. It's a collection.
Well, you can always use them as wallpaper, This is my tarot room.
The thought has crossed my mind.
Don't give her ideas. She will. She will.
Thank you all so very, very much. This was a lot of fun catching up and exploring the fun.
Now, we'll put links to how to get to your website, how people can contact you if they think they might need an investigation or if they want a psychic reading. We'll also put Anvil's information up there as well. If people want to find you, they can take a look in our show notes. We'll have all of that right there. And, maybe we'll have to have you. Michelle is convinced the house I'm living in currently was a church and it has been rebuilt. And Chelle has been here and is absolutely convinced that my backyard is full of spirits.
Oh, hell yeah. And people were watching me through the window from outside. Like we were in the house and it was like people were all on the deck around looking through the windows.
Holy cow.
And there's been a couple other things. We'll talk offline, but maybe we'll see if sometime in the future we can have you guys come and check and see if there's anything lurking in the woods around my house.
Excellent.
But thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, Alonnie.
Thank you, Alonnie.
Blessed Samhain to everybody.
A blessed Samhain to you as well. Thank you all so much for listening to Back on the Broomstick. We hope you enjoyed this episode about paranormal investigations. If you'd like to book a reading or a paranormal investigation with Alonnie or with Specters, we'll have all the links down in the show description. And of course, if you liked our show, please give us a thumbs up, stars, likes, reviews, tell a friend. It really helps the show out. And it makes us cackle like little witches. Check out our website, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, all of them at Back on the Broomstick. Until next time, stay wise, stay wicked, and keep it witchy.